The girl wouldn't stop shuddering, a sodden heap convulsing on the dirt.
They made me watch.
Salt snakes slithered down her cheeks, glistening in the lime shards peeping through the leaves. The breeze swayed with sweat and sea salt.
They peeled his skin, rubbed pepper in the gashes, ripped his fingernails off one by one.
A wild grief glazed her eyes, mucus bubbling from tattered nostrils.
He didn't do anything, didn't know anything. They just wouldn't stop laughing.
I slumped to the ground to join her, stifling a sigh for the jackfruit curry I knew I wouldn't make it back in time for. I imagined the tender fruit simmering in pepper and cinnamon, swirling in chili-kissed coconut milk. Dancing garlic strides with the sour guraka beneath a canopy of bubbling pandan leaves. My taste buds tingled in longing. Why on earth did I stop? You're probably thinking I seem pretty heartless at this point, and perhaps you're not wrong. Weeping hordes of these broken souls had been pouring into our town for quite some time. While the Sri Lankan army and the Tamil tigers shredded our island's luscious tapestry, the displaced began seeping in from all over. Everywhere you looked, traumatized crowds filled the local churches, temples, and schools, dripping devastation, teeming in sweaty heaps under the palm trees. Limbless, homeless, hopeless. The living debris chewed up and spat out by the war. At first, heartstrings and curiosity would lead me straight into the folds of the sobbing huddles. I couldn't help but approach the sorry-drenched agony, the raw grief and rocking moans, the irresistible siren songs of sadness. Lonely seeks lonely, I guess. But when the stories got particularly gruesome, I soon learned to subtly tune myself away behind a convincing glaze of nods and concerned mm-hms. I looked beyond their faces and focused on the sand lizards scampering about for their supper. I listened to the flies gorging on rotting guava flesh and the motorbikes purring in the heat. When the weeping got really intense, I'd watch those serpents slithering down their salt, flat cheeks, etching faces into ghost maps of grief, wondering where those snakes evaporated to, what clouds they'd join, what wind currents they'd ride, and what calmer soil they'd patter down and escape to. Their molten eyes would peer into my own, tragedies rolling from their quivering lips, as they sought some fragment of sympathy that I simply couldn't provide.